A Work and Family Guide. Chapter 1. A Work and Family Guide. Working Parents Info. If you work and raise kids, especially if you're the mother, since mothers do most of the child raising even if they work, be ready for hard work, stress, and a minimal amount of time for yourself, but you picked this lifestyle, now you have to live with it. You'll be separate from your children a lot. While they're young, you'll have to find some manner of daycare. When they get older, they'll learn to be independent. You can't control your obligation to work, so don't feel guilty about it. Raise your kids to live in the real world. Tell them you have to work to make money to pay bills. Quantity or time together doesn't matter as much as quality, which means love. You can't help being away for work, but when you're home, spend time talking to your children and doing things together. Explain to your kids that you have to go to work. Tell them when you'll be back. Find a good caregiver. They're crying out for attention. You're tired and stressed out when you get home from work, so you have to be wary of the frustration-aggression hypothesis, the kicking the dog syndrome, taking your frustrations out on your kids. Reading to your kids or singing with them is one of the best ways to communicate love rather than simply parking them in front of the TV. Emotionally connect with your children if you don't want to raise alienated brats. Currently, only 8% of all families in America are the traditional 1950s nuclear family, the breadwinner father and the housewife mother. Most women in families and as single parents are out there in the workforce. If you're gone overnight, you can call them on the phone or talk to them through texting or webcam. When you go on business trips, send your kids postcards. If you have to be away at work, you can call your children, leave them love letters, a CD or MP3 file with you talking, fax them, email them, write out a loving though on the blackboard glued onto your fridge, buy them educational toys and books, leave things like crossword puzzles and books with them and offer to pay them $5 if they have them done the next time you see them, ask them questions or have them write an essay about the book, etc. Try to get them involved in a constructive activity like computer, sports, reading, music, dancing, scouts, etc. Teach your kids to take care of themselves, to be independent. Get them a pet so they'll have a companion while you're away. Teach your children to eat cereal, make a salad and cook eggs while you're away. Cook food, then teach them to warm it up in the microwave oven. You can find food books at number 641 at the library. When you get back, do special things, take them out for treats and meals, help them with homework, read a bedtime story, sing along to a folk song CD, watch TV together, give them your phone number and tell them to call you anytime they want. Try not to miss your children's special events like birthdays, holidays, the big game, the recital, the annual parade, etc. Don't make promises to your children that you can't keep. Don't try to buy their love with presents. Give them love by spending time with them. Work issues for families. The major family issues at work are daycare, healthcare, pregnancy leave, maternity leave, paternity leave for fathers upon the birth of children, which is widely accepted in Europe, time off for childcare and care of elder dependents like parents, medical leave, a flexible work schedule, job sharing, 2 people sharing one job, compressed work week, work longer days but less overall days like 10 hours a day 4 days instead of 8 hours 5 days, gay rights for domestic partners, telecommuting, working for a company at home either part-time or full-time. In general, there are some laws geared to help families at work, but the general policy is a company-by-company call. You'd think that corporations would want to offer generous family terms to their workers to keep them happy, and some do, but many don't. So if you're wary about these things, check on the company's family policies before you start working there. If you want to be a crusader, meet with your fellow employees, set up some demands for yourselves and present them to your management as family-friendly policies that you want to see implemented. Simply tell them a family-friendly workplace produces more motivated, happier, productive workers. The American Bill of Rights for the family is the right to a job and economic security, the right to health care, the right to child and elder care, the right to family leave, the right to services for the elderly, the right to quality education, the right to equal opportunity, the right to equal pay for work of equal value, the right to permanent housing, the right to live and work in a safe and accessible environment. Many women and men alike are ignorant of the law and what rights they have regarding many issues in the workplace, like the Family and Medical Leave Act/FMLA, enacted August 1993, which gives workers the right to take up to 12 weeks unpaid leave to take care of a newborn or a sick family member. Most states have parental leave laws, and some are more generous than the FMLA Act. If you believe your rights at work have been violated, check your company policies and the law. Get evidence by documenting the situation. Write down every incident immediately after it happens and get witnesses to corroborate you. Go through company/union channels first, file a grievance with both the relevant federal and state agencies, talk to an employment lawyer, call the EEOC and the 9005 helpline for general advice. The major work-family laws are the Americans with Disabilities Act/ADA, Family and Medical Leave Act/FMLA, Pregnancy Discrimination Act/PDA, Adoption Benefits, AdoptionFriendlyWorkplace.org, Pregnancy Matters. The Pregnancy Discrimination Act/PDA prohibits discrimination based on pregnancy, childbirth, or related medical conditions in all manner of the employment process, from hiring to performance to termination. Basically, employers are legally obligated to allow a pregnant woman to work as long as she is able to do her job satisfactorily, and he has to hold the job open for her to return within a reasonable amount of time. The PDA is a U.S. federal law barring discrimination against a woman because of pregnancy, childbirth, or a related medical condition. It applies to women who work in companies with more than 15 employees. Employers cannot refuse to hire, fire, demote, or penalize anyone based on pregnancy. It doesn't give you any specific benefits but prevents you from being discriminated against in any benefits the others get just because you're pregnant. In practice, individual women have difficulty bringing a pregnancy discrimination case to court and winning. Many women are still harassed and unduly fired during pregnancy. When contemplating a pregnancy, consider reviewing your state's pregnancy discrimination laws. An employer's health insurance must be used to cover pregnancy just like with any other medical condition. If an employer provides extra benefits for other medical conditions, then pregnancy must be covered too. medicinenet.com/script/main/art.asp article key = 51386, Work and Pregnancy. 9 to 5. National Association of Working Women. 9to5.org. Generally an advocacy group for women. National Organization for Women's Legal Defense and Education Fund. NOW.org. Work and caregiving websites. beingafamily.com/eldercare. eldercareadvocates.com. reference/for business.com/small/d-eq/eldercare.html. seniorbridge.net. senioroutlook.com. workingwomenplus.com, helping adult children cope with aging parents. Chapter 2. The Working Family and Medical Issues. Family and Medical Leave Act/FMLA. The Family and Medical Leave Act/FMLA gives workers the right to take up to 12 weeks of unpaid leave from their jobs for the birth or adoption of a child or to care for a seriously ill child, spouse, or parent. It also gives workers time to recover from their own serious illnesses. If you worked at the company for at least 12 months, you are eligible for these considerations and to have full company health coverage as well as a guaranteed equivalent status job on return, but it's only effective for companies with 50 or more employees, and workers have to provide employers with 30 days advance notice of taking the leave. For organizations with fewer employees, it's good business sense to give employees some consideration and work with them when they have important personal issues at home. It makes for better employees all around when you come off like a good guy. The FMLA requires employers to continue to pay health care during the leave as long as the employee contributes to his insurance plan while on FMLA leave. The employer is required to provide an equivalent job when the leave ends with the same benefits as before. There are controversies as to what is defined as a family. Some employers only honor the FMLA with direct family members while others are more liberal. If you want leave to care for anyone, if you feel they're that important to you, then the employer will not stand in your way. The law generally applies to all public sector employees and private sector employers who employ 50 or more employees for at least 20 work weeks in the current or preceding year. 34 states also have family leave legislation, some of which is more generous than that of the federal law, so, once again, be sure to investigate. Some states also have good laws for new mothers, so check it out with your state Department of Labor. The FMLA involves entitlement to leave, maintenance of health benefits during leave, job restoration after leave, set requirement for notice and certification of the need for FMLA leave, and protects employees who request FMLA leave. The reasons you can get up to 12 work weeks of unpaid, job-protected leave a year are: birth and care of child, adoption and care of child, care for an immediate family member with a serious health condition, serious health condition of employee with appropriate certification from doctor. This leave may be intermittent, meaning that, for example, an employee may leave to care for a health member for a week here, a week there, provided the employer agrees to it. dol.gov/esa/program/whd/state/fmla en.wikipedia.org/wiki/family_medical_leave_act_of_1993 rightslaw.com, FMLA leave checklist. fmlaonline.com. Public Information Office. Employment Standards Administration. U.S. Department of Labor. Washington, D.C. 20210. 800-959 FMLA. 800-326-2577, TDD. dol.gov/dole/esa/fmla. dol.gov/esa/whd/opinion/fmla.htm. dol.gov/dole/esa/public/reg/statutes/whd/fmla.htm. Request Booklet Compliance Guide to the Family and Medical Leave Act. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission Information Line, EEOC. 1801 L St. N.W. Washington, D.C. 20507. 800-669-3362. 800-669-4000. EEOC.gov. Parental Leave Info. nccp.org/policy_index_29.html, National Center for Children in Poverty, State Leave Policies, Parental Leave Programs and Policies. Nationalpartnership.org, National Partnership for Women and Families. A state-by-state analysis of parental leave programs. ncsl.org/program/employ/fmlachart.htm, National Conferences of State Legislatures. State Family and Medical Leave Laws. dol.gov/esa/program/whd/state/fmla, Federal vs. State Family and Medical Leave Laws. Sick Leave Info. nationalpartnership.org/portal/p3/library/paid leave/sick days/getwellsoon.pdf. Working with a chronic medical condition. Somebody said that there are 100 million people with a chronic illness in the United States. A lot of people cannot afford to not work. Some want to work even while sick because it gives them a sense of inspiration and purpose. The process is basic. Have your little cry and a few days rest, then start working again. Do what you can from your bed. Use your computer, take phone calls, send emails, etc. Some people are so cool that people they are doing business with don't know they're sick and in bed. It's ridiculous to try to function at your old standard. You do what you can. Little by little you get stronger. You reach a new modified standard and stay there. It's good enough. It's better than doing nothing. Find work that releases your natural energy and you will always love what you do. Even when you're sick, you will want to do what naturally inspires you because you know this is what keeps you strong and energized. There is no shame in modifying your workload, changing jobs within a company or starting something new if you intuitively feel it's the right thing to do. In the past, I have delegated work to competent employees. Get somebody else to take up some slack. It's easy to hire a virtual assistant over the internet or go on Craigslist.org and hire someone to do your menial labor. You don't have to tell people you have a medical condition unless it will be affecting your work, so they will know that you will need to rest, leave early, etc. We live in an ambitious culture hooked on getting things done quickly, but that is not necessary. You can do a reasonable amount of work without pushing for your limits. Do what's really important. Forget the minor stuff for now. Do what you can, rest, then work a little more. If you are not tech savvy, check into email, Twitter, web conferencing, webinars, etc. Make up your will, estate plan, etc. so you have it done and out of the way. There are books around about working with a chronic illness or medical condition. I found one at hashtag 362.160 or RC963 at the library. carepages.com, chronicbabe.com, keepworkinggirlfriend.com, thuarkathomewoman.com/tag/chronic-illness, workingwithchronidillness.com, maternity leave and motherhood. Every state government and company has different laws regarding maternity leave. Either get a copy at work, at the local library. Books about maternity leave are at hashtag 306.7 or HD 6065, or at a law library. Maternity leave is a 3-stage deal. Tell your boss and preparing to leave work. Maternity leave when you have your baby. Going back to work, daycare, babysitting, juggling motherhood and work. Most companies have flexible maternity leave options that are tailored on a case-by-case basis. Talk to your boss or the employee relations/personnel office about 6 months before the baby is expected in order to work out the exact details. You might be able to change the normal schedule to suit your needs, possibly work part-time, odd hours called flex time, or even work at home if it's computer or some kind of paperwork. Get it in writing so you'll be ready when the baby is almost due. Get ready for baby and try to make caregiving arrangements, either a babysitter, relatives, grandparents, baby nurse, daycare center, friends, live-in nanny, daily nanny, center-based infant daycare usually run by a charitable organization, churches, schools, hospitals, welfare organizations, corporations, or possibly daycare at work. The Pregnancy Discrimination Act of 1978 requires employers of 15 employees or more who have short-term disability policies to treat pregnancy as a disability and grant paid maternity leave for about 6 to 8 weeks. Generally, a company doctor determines the length of maternity leave on a case-by-case basis. It usually starts 2 weeks before delivery and continues for 6 to 8 weeks after. Cesarean births are usually granted 2 extra weeks of leave. Although some European countries offer paternity leave to fathers, this is not currently the case in America. Depending on the company, maternity leaves are fully paid, partially paid, or not covered at all. Job protection may not be guaranteed. Although some companies don't have to offer disability leave, most do. Find a pediatrician who has hours conducive to working mothers. Find a working mothers support group at the YWCA, church, or other places like at work. Find child information at the library, number 618, medical, number 649, child rearing, and many magazines. Make sure your husband and other close people are happy with the arrangements. Your husband will either want you to go back to work as soon as possible because he's worried about the money situation, or he's making enough such that he'll want you to stay home to become a homemaker. You have to talk it out and make a firm agreement so you both know what's going on. Be businesslike at work with your boss in hammering out the details. Don't be selfish, sweet, or too rigid. Work out a middle ground balancing your need for maternity leave to his need for a good worker who's there. Don't go overboard talking and planning about your baby at work. Do your job professionally. That's what you're paid for. Some people may be jealous or callous to your pregnancy. Keep it as invisible as possible on the job. Many studies have been done on child rearing, and the undeniable fact is that it's not quantity of time spent with a child that counts, it's quality, meaning working mothers can raise good children who love them as long as they spend honest quality time with them. Don't feel guilty about being a working mother who puts the baby into someone else's care for part of the day. Many mothers have an identity crisis and wonder if they should work, be mothers, or both. Think it through to make the best decision for yourself. If you don't have a lot of money, the government has subsidies and programs for working mothers, especially single ones living near the poverty level, so make a few phone calls to the government employment office and various social service agencies to ask about them. Get health insurance for the baby. There are private low-cost options and government assistance for children's medical needs. In order to stay legal, contact your local unemployment tax office and workmen's compensation office to ask about details when hiring domestic workers for your home. Always have a backup for your daycare because people get sick, go out of business, etc. Don't try to be supermom. Go back to work. See how it goes. If it's too much, ask your boss if you can work part-time or partially at home. Don't overwork yourself and get stressed out. Try to balance work, baby, husband, and time for yourself. Try to keep your love life alive. Be ready for postpartum depression when the mothering hormones in your body subside, the excitement dies down and baby becomes part of the routine. Stay calm and become friends with your caregiver. Don't get jealous of her and compete for baby's love. She's just doing her job. Talk to her and get a feel for her. Possibly install a hidden camera to see how she's really treating the baby. Give her a raise if she deserves it. Never take her for granted. Give her space and privacy for her own life. You have a baby for love because you want to love him or her and help them become decent human beings. Never lose sight of that through all the trials and tribulations of raising your child. Parental leave is a catch-all phrase for granting leave for adoptive parents and any other extraneous situation a modern family might face, like a very sick child or a troubled one. Some companies will offer you unpaid leave if you ask for it. Call 800-424-367, irs.gov, get booklet number 503, Child and Dependent Care Credit, and the booklet Employment Taxes for Household Employees if you have a babysitter or nanny. Find out if your company has child care benefits in the form of medical insurance and daycare. In some workplaces, you can have the baby with you at work. Nationalpartnership.org. nccic.acf.hhs.gov. cdinet.com/womensrights/database.html, Maternity Protection Database. National Association for the Education of Young Children. NAEC.org. Accrediting Organization for Daycare Centers, Publications. Chapter 3. A Work-Family Website Guide. Work-Family Websites. Books about work and family are at hashtag 640.43 or HD 4904.25 at the library. Books about working parents are hashtag 306.87, hashtag 646.70 or HQ 759 and QB 198.3 at the library. Moms-refuge.com, Working Moms Internet Refuge. WorkingParents.com, Working Parents, links to parenting, careers. Nationalpartnership.org, National Partnership for Women and Families. hsph.harvard.edu/global working families. Womenwork.org. ALP.org, Alliance for Work-Life Progress. ALP advances work-life effectiveness as a strategy for better integration of work, family, and community. FlexibilityAlliance.org, the Flexibility Alliance supporting flexible work for mothers, tools to help parents propose flexible schedules to their employers, online forums and resources for employers. Parentsatwork.org.uk. Workingmother.com. Working Parents Corn. Familiesanwork.org. Catalystwomen.org. careerjournal.com/columnist/workfamily. 9to5.org, 800-522-0925, info about flexible work. childcare.ukla.edu/childcare/wpn.htm, Working Parents Newsletter. dol.gov/dole/wb, 800-827-5335, U.S. Department of Labor, Women's Bureau Publications. Familiesanwork.org. Familiesanworkinst.org, Families and Work Institute. Momsonline.com. Mothersanmore.org. Naturalchild.com. nww.org, New Ways to Work. ParentSewUp.com. PositiveParenting.com. ym.com, Work at Home Moms. Workfamily.com. 9to5. National Association of Working Women. 800-522-0925. Hotline 9to5@igc.org. 9to5.org. Generally an advocacy group for women but helps men too in such work areas as sexual harassment, maternity leave or any job problems in general. Annual membership fee entitles you to their database of information. Conference Board. Work and Family Information Center. Conference-dashboard.org. Earned Income Tax Credit/EIC. 800-829-1040. irs.gov. If you earn less than a certain amount and have children under 19 living at home, you get a tax break. Family and Work Institute. Familiesanworkinst.org. Parenting Publications. For more magazine selections, ask for a periodical directory at your local library. AmericanBaby.com, 800-525-0643, several parenting mags. AthomeMothers.com. AtlantaParent.com. BabyTalk.com. BahuriaParent.com. BigAppleParents.com. BirthGazette.com. ChicagoParent.com. Child.com. ChildMag.com. CompleteMother.com. DelawareFamily.com. enews.com/magazines. ePregnancy.com. Family.com. Family.go.com. FamilyPC.com. FitPregnancy.com. HealthyKids.com. HomeArts.com. InformedParent.com. LawParent.com Los Angeles. LePen.com, Long Island Parent. MetroKids.com. Mothering.com. NewMoon.org, Parents of Preteen Girls. NWFamily.com, Northwest. NewYorkFamily.com. OSV.com, Catholic. OWL.on.ca, Canadian Children's Magazines. ParentingInsights.com. Parents.com. PositiveParenting.com. SanDiegoFamily.com. SmartKid.com. Today'sParent.com. TuesdaysChild.com, Parenting a Child with Disabilities. TwinsMagazine.com. VegetarianBaby.com. WestarNewYork.com. WOMWeb.com. Complete Mother. Pregnancy, birth, and breastfeeding. CompleteMother.com. Working Mother websites. AmericanBaby.com/home/maternity-leave.html, maternity leave expert advice to help you plan ahead for your maternity leave. Alp.org, Alliance of Work/Life Professionals, a membership organization for professionals that promotes a healthier balance between work and personal life. bluesyouatmom.com, bluesyouatmom.com, tailored tips and tools to help executive working mothers balance work and family. breastfeeding.com/workingmom.html, breastfeeding.com, the working mom news and information for working moms, including breast pump info, dealing with the boss and milk storage. momsrefuge.com, Working Moms Refuge, supportive parent and women's community featuring discussion and advice from both experts and working mothers. Muji.com/n, Field of Muji, free internet membership website for present, future, and past working mothers and other women willing to support working mothers. nrgcoaching.com, NRG Coaching Associates, solutions for overstressed, overtired, overworked moms by coach/author/speaker Natalie Garman. pseudosupermom.blogspot.com, Pseudo Supermom, humorous weblog of a working mother. Talks about day-to-day life as a mother. workingmother.com, workingmother.com, online version of Working Mother magazine which covers work and life issues important to career-committed mothers. A list of working mom podcasts from blog.feedspot.com/working_mom_podcasts. Anchor.fm/black-mom-working. Balancedworkingmoms.com/podcast. Having-it-all.ridevango.com. Intentionalproductivitypodcast.podbean.com. mommyfaceted.com/category/podcast. momremix.com/working-moms-who-side-hustle-podcast. NikkiGingrich.com/podcast. ShiaStartsup.libzn.com. sbreaker.com/show/the-balanced-lives-show. thworkingmom.site/podcast. workhardmomhard.libzn.com. workingchristianmom.com/blog. workingchristianmom.libzn.com. yourliferocks.com/podcast/?v=7516FD438. yourliferocks.libzn.com. Chapter 4. A working parent with a disabled child. Work and raising a disabled child. Under the 1990 Americans with Disabilities Act (ADA), employers can't fire you because you have a child with special needs. Nor can they refuse to hire or offer you other employment opportunities such as promotions or transfers. You are protected from this form of discrimination by association if your workplace has 15 employees or more. Your employer may not refuse you health insurance because of your child's medical needs, even if those needs may increase the costs. However, a parent of a child with a disability is not entitled to any work accommodations under the ADA. If you miss work regularly to tend to your child and you have exceeded FMLA and any other leave you are entitled to, you may face demotion or dismissal. You're somewhat protected at work to take time off to raise a disabled child through laws like FMLA and the Americans with Disabilities Act, but only for certain work situations. Small businesses don't have to adhere to the FMLA. If your company violates these rules, go through their grievance process. If that's not enough, contact the Federal Department of Labor. If you're still not satisfied, get an employment lawyer and file a civil lawsuit. In Canada, there is some federal legislation that mandates up to 8 weeks of compassionate care leave to care for critically ill family members of employees of the federal government or companies under federal jurisdiction, but most of the laws are provincial. If your child has a disability, you should tell your boss so he or she knows you might have to leave sometimes to attend to the child. No matter what, your work still has to meet a satisfactory standard. You have to explain the exact disability to your boss or give him some literature and a DVD on it, then say that you will always get your work done but it might be late at night rather than during the day. The bigger the company, the more likely that there are other parents like you raising disabled children, so it will be more likely that the company understands these situations and will work with you. Ask directly for what you need. It will probably be best to do this in a letter because then you won't be nervous. You can take the time to think it through. Don't apologize for having a disabled child. It's a reality of life. Just say you're committed to the company and will always do good work. At some point in time after you've proven your ability to work, ask about flex job option possibilities like telecommuting/telework, working at different times, adjusted lunchtime, make up for it later in the day, compressed work week, work 4 10-hour days over 5 8-hour days, comp time, work at the office in the morning, go home, finish the work from there. The problem is that you have to convince your boss to let you do one of these options. Another possibility is to go part-time or split your full-time job into 2 part-time ones, with you working one of them. Job sharing is another option, 2 people share one job. Each get 50% of the salary. You can always look for an easier job. You can try a home business, myhomebusiness.com. Some companies will allow you to take an extended leave without pay for 6 months to several years. If you can't find care, you'll have to quit work and do it yourself. You can switch careers. Look around for some kind of career or job you can do at home, like medical transcription, train for it, then get a job doing it. You can get a night shift job and be with your child during the day. When you raise a disabled child, you learn a set of skills right there, how to take care of children with that disability. So if you get involved with the organizations and companies that deal with that disability, you could network your way into a job in that field. Parents of disabled children and work websites. mchb.hrsa.gov/chscn/pages/prevalence.htm, prevalence of children with special health care needs. familiesandwork.org. wilder.org, Amherst H. Wilder Foundation, Child Care and Work. urban.org, use of relative care by working parents. bls.gov, Bureau of Labor Statistics. kff.org, Kaiser Family Foundation. childrensdefense.org. familyvoices.org. bls.gov, know your legal rights at work.